Imposter syndrome is the persistent feeling of being a fraud, even when you're skilled and accomplished.
Yes. Should we arrive to this podcast before we start?
Let's arrive. Welcome. I feel calm just doing that.
Yes, I needed to take that breath. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm hopeful, positive, just zen. I've had a week where my body and mind were stimulated a lot. So I really needed that breath. What about you?
Very positive as well. Everything is just like, let's start again.
In alignment. I agree. I think the weekend was a really clearing weekend for me. And let's be honest, I think we're getting into the topic now, imposter syndrome. I've always wanted a podcast. I've always wanted a 2-people podcast. The reason I bought all of this.
The reason I have 2 mics in my house.
I invested kind of a bit of money to have a setup and have things, ready.
Mm-hmm.
And it sat in a box for 12 months because of my imposter syndrome, because of thinking I wasn't good enough or ready, or I didn't have anything worthy to say to people. Even just thinking about this, I'm fidgeting and I shouldn't.
I know.
We can talk. Why not? How do you feel about imposter syndrome? I think this is my biggest example this year, when you think you're over it, but you really look at a purchase you've made a year ago and you haven't touched the box until now, where you feel finally ready after taking a deep breath to record, and not even ready in my mind to post.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll sit in the laptop like it sat in the box.
It won't, because we're 2 people. So I think there will be that thing of like, you're 2. But I can only relate, like you say, you waited like 12 months for it to happen. It sounds crazy, but it's not. And I feel like we're so many doing this. I moved houses. Yeah? Do you realize the commitment of it? I wanted to move houses in London. I was in zone 6. Wanted to get a bit closer. Wanted to change environment. But I thought, hold on, I want to also go back to boxing. Because I had gone to New Zealand and rekindled with my love of boxing, and the coach there made me swear, like, once you go back to London, you'll get back to a club. And I was like, yes, I will. And at first I said, oh, but it's too expensive, boxing. He was like, you will find a way. I was like, okay, I'll find a way. And so I tried 3-4 boxing clubs in West London. I chose the one I wanted, and then I looked for a place near there. I found the place. I moved mid-November last year. Mid-November. Yeah, I know, it's been a year already that I lived there. Yeah. And so I was 10 minutes cycling, not even 5-10 minutes cycling from the boxing club that I'd chosen, which is 10-15 minute walk/run that I could go, so I could go anytime. And I started boxing on the 31st of July. I waited 9 months to do this. I couldn't bring myself to it. I was really too much thinking of like, no, I'm not gonna be good enough, and I'm gonna fail again, because I stopped boxing because I lost the game. And after that, I just couldn't bring myself back to the club, and I just stopped boxing for 4 years. And obviously New Zealand, everything brought it back to my life, and I knew I wanted to get back to it, but there was this strong thing of like, no, I'm gonna fail again, I'm not good enough, and this whole imposter thing of like, whatever.
It's making me realize something as we're speaking, which I didn't even think about while I was listening to you, which is what made us go back into the thing. And it's not staying in the box, it's not, living nearby and not going there, is the purpose of why you're doing it. Is the purpose reclaiming that failure? Is the purpose getting out of your comfort zone and recording your voice? No. I mean, it's not. It's not reclaiming the failure. It's not about the failure.
Yeah.
It's the love of the thing.
It's the love of the thing. Yeah.
And for me, it's not the love of the mic, absolutely not, but it's the love of sharing a message or connecting, or the opportunity to connect with people wider than our little voice notes or our little group of friends. And when you remember that, you start thinking, how stupid of me, but that's just, how I speak to myself. Shouldn't use negative language, but wait, it's not worth being shy to do this, because the purpose is so much greater than the act of.
So much greater than being shy about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting you're saying purpose, because while you were talking before, what it made me think about was, that same thinking of, okay, we were stuck. What made us unstuck? What triggered it to start again? What is it? And I think it accumulates obviously throughout the months. You're like, it's been many months, this happened. But for me, one of the things that has helped me with imposter syndrome was the feeling of being selfish. I thought, for example, with nowadays, the club I'm running on the side in the morning, I really thought, imposter syndrome. Who am I to run this club to like a larger group, larger audience, tell people they should join. People that want to join, they join. But I'm not going to try to convert anyone or tell anyone. But then I had this strong feeling rising of like feeling selfish about it, like having created such a nice space where I can see people enjoy it so much and I keep it for myself. Like there was not even an Instagram, there was nothing. It was just, if you knew me and if we had that conversation, maybe I would have told you I have this morning thing that I do every single morning, that I invite you in, and I felt like, I don't want to feel selfish. This is the worst feeling. So I thought, okay, feeling selfish or being shy, one had to, overcome. I'm like, okay, let's go. Because I don't want to feel selfish, I'm gonna have to break that wall, go through it, and leave a bit aside the imposter syndrome, because it's greater than, exactly like you said.
Comparatively, it sounds like a no-brainer actually, but we compare everything. I think we were raised in a society where comparing is impossible not to do. You're just always either on a leaderboard at school, you're the best in class, you're the second best, you're the worst. There's always this comparison to yourself, actually. Yeah. No one talks about it, but to people around you, everyone talks about it. Why couldn't you be more like this person? Or, look at what they're doing, you should do this. You should do this extracurricular, will increase your chances. And I think we need to get into that mindset of, no, just look inward. If you do this, will you feel like you've made progress on who you are based on last year? Because last year, you were in the mindset, so your mind was ready, but your heart wasn't. And now they're both aligned, they're both ready, you've done it. How do you feel? Great. There will be a million podcasts. There will be so many things to compare to. There are not going to be reasons for me to pick up the mic and do it. But what will be is, I'm growing within myself. I'm growing in connecting and sharing and hearing people out, maybe helping them eventually if there's questions that we can answer, and vice versa, if they can help us get over our imposter syndrome. Because it does trickle down to other things like work, and I'm thinking about it now. It's much more common for it to happen at work for people. It does take most of your time. It does make you realize things when you talk one-to-one with your manager about your maybe competencies that aren't there, the skills that you need to strengthen. We'll get there, I think, in further episodes. But all of this to say is the importance of purpose, and to just pause when all of this is going on and you're saying no to yourself. Yeah. Why? Why could you say yes? What would change if you said yes? I'm thinking about it because I hadn't asked myself. I'm like, a lot would change. I'd do this earlier, and I would have probably learned from mistakes of doing it. Yeah. And I'm glad I started, because now the learning begins again.
No, that's true. For people that don't see this, there is a heartbeat type of vibe going on here. Yeah, no, but in terms of like from the work perspective, I think the imposter syndrome, because we're just talking about it, like we all know what it is. Maybe we should define it.
Nice, yes. Would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think it's just, it speaks for itself, but it's basically a concept that when I first heard about it, I didn't even know it was a concept. I just thought, oh, we all feel this, but now it's really a thing. It's a theory, and it's just that basically you don't feel that you have enough credits or you're not good enough to be the one doing what you're doing, and you justify yourself a lot for what you're doing, for your actions. And so the first time I encountered this was in professional settings. I heard that conference where it was a conference for women, French women actually, in London, very specific, very targeted, very niche. And they were talking about the glass ceiling, and they were talking about imposter syndrome and all of these concepts. And they gave the example of when you go to an interview and a man's like someone that identifies as a man is like asked the question, what is your salary expectations? The man will reply the range, right? Oh, I want between 32 and 45 or whatever. When someone that identifies as a woman is asked the same thing, she will say, oh, it is between 32 and 48 or whatever. And then add the sentence, because I need to repay my student loan, and because I have 2 masters, and because... But no one's asked you this.
Don't mean to cut you. And there's another thing they likely add is, but I am flexible. But it is negotiable. But I'm
willing
happy.
to if...
Yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of justification in every single email. And there's another one where you say, just checking in. Just sending a message because. You don't need to say that.
Yeah.
Hey, person. Hope you're well. Here's attached.
Yeah.
We need to be better at communicating the way we mean things versus the way we inconvenience people. Because then we're really admitting that it is an inconvenience. Yeah. And that's one thing that I think we need to get better at. And to add to your definition, because I looked it up just now, imposter syndrome is the persistent feeling of being a fraud, even when you're skilled and accomplished.
Yes, that's so true.
So just looking at that definition, it's basically you've done all this work on yourself. Everyone else can see it. But the way you portray it to others is, no, don't look at that.
No, but I was lucky.
I don't feel...
One thing for me was the lucky thing. But I know I did that in the past, but that was luck. Oh my god.
Girl.
That was luck, really?
No.
Like, on things that it can't be luck. But, oh yeah, we achieved this with this organization, and yes, I made the team do that, and yes, yes, all that too, yeah, but that was because, and you kind of like, give those success, you attribute those success to other factors, to the weather, to someone, to a new hire, to anyone.
Make your accomplishments a fraud themselves too. So not only do you put yourself in a fraudulent position, but everything you've achieved that people can separate from you, essentially, right? Because when you accomplish something, they want to see that as a standalone. It's a character trait. They're like, great. And she's also achieved that, which is fantastic. Yeah. We can use it separately, and they can use that accomplishment themselves. Because I don't want to get into HR mentality, but I feel like a lot of the time people get hired not because of who they are, but because of what they've done and accomplished. And the mentality of edit your CV, edit your resume, put your accomplishments, not your actions.
Yes.
Cool. Can you see beyond that? How can we create a system where they really get through to you? Because now there's generative text, there's generative multiple things. Yeah. You can pretend that you've accomplished things or word it in a way that it seems impressive. Are we making efforts to really get through to the person? And I would definitely say no. I worked in HR. I was told, hide this, hide that, just filter this university. It really comes down to, ethics and values of the company, and also of us when we look at ourselves. What do we value? What are our ethics? And why are we discriminating ourselves? From applying to things or from doing things like podcasts, like boxing.
Yeah.
Like stand-up. Jesus, I am not funny. But I did want to challenge myself in, I'm sure I've said a few things that made people laugh.
Of course you did.
Right?
Of course.
So ask yourself this. Have you said 1 or 2 things that people chuckled at? Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough to start and write
Absolutely.
Just go and write. And same with you. It's, have I punched a boxing bag before? Yeah. Have I punched it really well? Yeah. You need to know how to take one to give one. I'm deadly scared of sparring. Deadly. I'm so afraid. I cannot hit another person. I've learned that very early on when I was training. And this is one thing I need to get over. That's my fear. It's not practicing. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Because it's just me, myself, and the bag.
Yeah.
No one's hurt. No one's complaining. Surely you've gone to that point where you've sparred and then qualified and had a match. That gives you so much credibility, accomplishment, and skills to go back to it. It's so impressive. So I think that's another imposter syndrome V2 of having done the whole circle and you're like, oh no, gotta get back to it. Do you want to know where it stems from, where it origins?
Yeah, of course. I've actually never looked it up.
Yeah, I've never looked at the concept. I've read so much about it, but
you
I've
read
never
articles, you know, conferences, networking events, stuff that are very specific to it, and obviously in feminist literature there is a lot around this as well because it impacts more women and stuff like this. But yeah, I've never looked it up myself, being like googling this.
I really find it interesting because it's nothing we don't know, and anyone who listens are going to be like, oh yeah, definitely. But just saying it clearly, it origins and stems from self-doubt and the fear of being exposed as incompetent or unworthy. Sorry, that word just, I saw it.
Heavy.
And I just wasn't sure. My feelings just went. Self-doubt, fear of being exposed as incompetent or unworthy. Yeah.
And that, I mean, I can imagine with stand-up, it would be like not receiving any laughs or not receiving any applause at the end. This is like, okay, like, you know.
And being exposed. I think my parents were there, right?
Yeah, and you have to make jokes about the Middle East and your dating life and, you know, in front of your parents. That's interesting.
It gets as up close and personal as it can in front of your parents. And the funny thing as well, just to make this lighter, a guy I went on a few dates with was at the audience with his new girlfriend. Oh. Yeah, and she was Turkish. So, I mean, you know, he clearly has a type, but... It was and I saw him at the breakout and my dad was there. He's like, hi Melissa. I'm like, hi, name of the person that I will not mention. He's like, oh, you're doing stand-up? I'm like, yeah, why are you here? Because the audience was mainly friends and family. It was open to all, but it was, you know, raising money for charity. You sell your own tickets, so you kind of know who's coming. Yeah. He was apparently his girlfriend's cousin or something was performing, so it was just even harder for me.
Universe is like dropping stuff for you to have fun with. Oh, Melissa, we're gonna do this, we're gonna put that guy here.
Yeah, I think me now is so much more confident and comfortable to even maybe laugh about it on stage. I'd be like, hey, by the way, guys, guess who's in the audience? Yeah. And play with it. But back then, and that's another growth, right? 2-3 years ago, I was shy, I was feeling unworthy, really exposed in front of my parents, self-doubt, like, why am I here? Why am I doing this?
You know, I can't believe like, it's so crazy for me to hear someone like you say stuff like this. Because already when I met you 5 years ago, I don't know, when I met you 5 years ago, I thought, wow, this woman's so confident, she's so comfortable with herself. She's good at everything. I was like, and you're younger than me. And I was like, and she's younger than you. Like, oh, wow. Like, I was blown away, right? And to hear that, that stand-up was, 4 years ago, maybe? To hear that, or maybe less, 3?
Yes, 3.
To hear that even 3 years ago, you still had all of this. And now that we talk every day, to hear that you still have stuff like this happen.
Of course.
It's just... It blows my mind, but at the same time, I know one of my closest friends told me yesterday or 2 days ago, we went to a party and I was shy to dance. She was annoyed at me. She was like, I don't understand you, Karen. Like, you dance all the time. You recorded. You have now videos of you recorded on Instagram, published. You dancing. We're at a party with people, you know, you're shy to dance. She was annoyed and she was like, I can't believe it. She said, I keep on forgetting this aspect of you, that you self doubt so much and you have so much things around this that we have no idea on the other side.
You and me both. I think we can expose ourselves here.
Unworthiness hits really hard. I'll speak for myself. When it comes to others, I always find so much resources within myself to push through, to help, to support, to go above and beyond. But I realized lately that I wasn't doing this that much for myself. This is bringing me to think about one of my affirmations. Um, we're gonna have to make an episode about affirmations, guys, because if this isn't something you're familiar with, this might sound a bit cuckoo or uncomfortable. One of my affirmation is I'm worthy of the effort. It's so silly. Obviously, we are all worthy of the effort we're putting in. You are worthy. I am worthy. We're all worthy of the effort we're putting in. And as much as it comes very naturally for all of us to help other people and to put so much effort for others, we have to carve ways into our routine and our habits to make this normal for us and normalize putting effort in ourselves. That means when I'm empowering myself to make bold moves towards my dream every day, little by little. And imposter syndrome is not all bad. There will be time where you need to have that reality check with yourself of, am I skilled enough to do this? And that is fine. That is part of it. It's exactly like fear. Fear is useful in our lives. Obviously, we shouldn't fear everything, but fear is also, keeping us safe. That's the same with the imposter syndrome. We're not saying it's all bad and you should completely get rid of it. It will at some point show you your limits. Tomorrow, I'm not going to apply to be a doctor because I don't have the skills to be a doctor. I would have high imposter syndrome if I were in a room as a surgeon trying to save someone's life. I can't do this. So, imposter syndrome is valid in some cases. Just learn to recognize when the imposter syndrome is real and is objective, and when it isn't and it isn't serving you. I think we can end on that note. I hope this has put words maybe on stuff that you have been feeling. If you didn't know imposter syndrome was a concept, or if you heard about it but you weren't sure really what it meant, or if you kind of had forgotten, how much it's impacting your life, not just at work, but also in your personal life. I hope you had a good time with us, and feel free to let us know in the comment section or in DM what has been your experience with imposter syndrome and what this episode has put in a different light for you to look at. Have a beautiful time. Enjoy!